Welcome to the Joy of Pastel. All right, today we're gonna paint this beautiful little brick farmhouse. I took this photo about a week ago on a drive, and I will put the reference photo here on the screen for you. This is a pretty edited photo, and I am gonna do a video on how I edit photos to make them much easier to paint, much more interesting to begin with. And if that video is up on my channel, I'll link it below. But yeah, I just wanted to say that. This is, I think it's an 8x10 piece of Canson velvet paper. This is a pretty new surface, at least new to me. I think it's been out for a couple years now, but it is one of the newer pastel papers, and it behaves very similar to Clairefontaine Pastel Matte, which I think is my favorite pastel paper, but this one is a close second so far. Here I'm using a blue hard pastel to just kind of lightly sketch in the trees and just the different elements in this painting. Oh, and I did pre-tone this paper, just wanted to add that. Eventually I'll do a video on that, but basically all I do is take some pastel and just smear it all over the page and then wet it down with water and basically and a paintbrush and just spread it around and let it dry. So sometimes I'll put it like between some heavy books or, usually it dries. This paper dries pretty flat, but yeah, that's all I did. Here I am sketching in the house, and as you'll see, what I'm drawing right now, I decided it was a little too big, so I do shrink it down a little bit. This day, I should call these like nap time paintings because I do these while my baby is napping. She's almost a year old now, and I never know how much time I'm going to have. Am I going to have 45 minutes or 2.5 hours? It's every day is different. If you're a parent or have been a parent, I'm sure you'll understand. So this day I wound up only having about an hour of nap time, and I had already wasted about 25 minutes and finally sat down and decided to paint this and record this video. And I think it took about 35 minutes total. And as I got to the end of this, she literally woke up and started crying, and I just thought, oh, all right, that's it. I guess this painting's done. And I've actually discovered that being a parent and having less time has made me way more productive, and it's actually made my painting better. Like, I feel like I actually paint better when I have that time pressure and when I know like this is my time, and I could go back and do more to the painting, but I'm really enjoying the challenge of painting quickly. So, all right, as you can see here, I kind of drew in a smaller house. This doesn't have to be perfect at this stage. That's the great thing about pastel. It's kind of like sketching, at least at first. You can kind of sketch things in like you would with pencil. And then you can just keep layering over it, keep refining it. That's just one of the things I love about soft pastel. And then I'm just loosely sketching in the tree shapes here. You'll see, but I decided to make the trees sort of go up over the mountain shape, whereas in the photo the trees are above, or the mountains are above the trees, and I just think it's a little more interesting to have the trees sort of go over the mountains a little bit. It just kind of breaks things up. And then I'm gonna sketch in just a very simple mountain shape, not adding really a whole lot of detail at this point. And yeah, this day, this was yesterday when I recorded this, I did not feel like painting. It was a Monday, and I just felt tired, kind of discombobulated. I felt like I didn't have a great plan, but I wanted to get this painting done. It had been on my mind. And then in this foreground area, you want to lead the viewer in to the, what the painting is about, which is this house mostly, and sort of the field as well. So I am going to create kind of an S shape in the foreground to draw the viewer in. Here I grabbed a darker grayish blue to kind of draw in these pine trees or fir trees a little more. I kind of dance back and forth between different parts of the painting. As I said, this day I was not in the mood, so I just decided to go with the flow, and if I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do yet with one spot, just go to a different spot, and just kind of float around the painting as I felt like it. And then I wanted to add in some more of these dark shadows over here and these deciduous trees. It is, when I took this photo, it was mid-July, so everything was in full bloom, lots of foliage on the trees, and just that rich green color. I'm adding kind of some different layers to the land here. It was kind of in the photo, but not really. And then as you can see here, I am darkening the foreground with that dark blue-gray color. It's not super dark. One thing, I had pre-picked out my palette for this painting, which was very helpful. I should do a video on that too. So one thing I'm trying really hard to do is not use as many super dark pastels. I've had this tendency to use a lot of one particular color. If you are familiar with pastel, watching other pastelists, you probably know about the Terry Ludwig pastel called Eggplant. It's this super, super dark, like almost darker than black, if that's possible. And I love it. I have bought it, like in bulk, like buying 6 pastels at a time because I've gone through so many of them. But I'm really trying to step away from using that super, super dark. And part of that is I've just been studying other artists and oil painters mainly. And I find it's very easy to watch oil painters and then translate that into pastels. So that's something I do. And I've noticed they don't use actually super dark colors a whole lot. And you still get the effect of shadows, and they're super dynamic. So that's just something I'm trying to think about and not use that super dark color a whole lot. All right, so here I'm just, I like to kind of fill in all the various elements of the painting just so I have a good roadmap. So I did that basic mountain shape with a kind of a violet blue, and then I am doing the sky. The sky was very uninteresting in this reference photo, so I had cropped it to where you don't really see much of the sky. It was early morning, it was kind of hazy. I could always make it more interesting, but I decided to just make it sort of boring, so there's not a whole lot of color in the sky. This is a cool dark green, just adding it to the shadow parts of the trees and the foreground. Try to kind of dance colors around, not just use them in one spot. I am pressing very, very lightly at this stage in the painting. For most of this painting, I do press really light until just some of the final accents at the very end. This is a lighter, cooler green, adding it to this field here, just trying to bring in some color. dancing it around the page just very lightly, and then adding it to these trees, not everywhere, because I'm starting to get a little bit light here where you need to be careful. The lighter you get, the more intentional you need to be with your marks, because you don't want that light everywhere. And you can, of course, go back and add shadows, which I do. Kind of as you get further in the distance, you want to kind of make more horizontal marks with fields. And then as you get more towards the foreground, I tend to go up and down a lot more with these bigger strokes. So here it's just really light. I am going up and down, but just barely. Adding some texture. This is a brighter color, kind of more of a grass green or an Irish green. And that underpainting you can see is really popping with the greens. And that's why I do this color most often with landscapes especially. I mean, it works great with a lot of subjects, but yeah, I love it with landscapes because it really pops with the green. And then I'm going in with a very pale, warm blue here and just filling in more of that sky, kind of shaping the mountains a little more. This is a warmer medium green, and as I'm getting kind of closer to the foreground, I'm warming things up a little bit. It's still mostly in shadow at the very bottom, so you will see me use mostly cooler colors, but kind of in that middle foreground, I warm things up just a little. Now, this is a very vibrant, cool green-yellow here. And I think this field was alfalfa. I believe that's what it is that has these yellow flowers. And it's a little early to go so bright, but I kind of wanted to start building this roadmap of where I want the eye to be led. So I just felt like I needed to add in some of these details leading the eye into the focal point, which is that farmhouse. This is a warm green, starting to add that just in some little strokes, like almost little like brush strokes to make it look like grasses or something here in this middle foreground. And you can totally see how the painting is really starting to take shape. If you kind of look back, you can see everything is really starting to come together. This is a very bright, almost fluorescent, cool green. And I just added a little pop of that. At the very end, I will go back and just really make that field and those yellow flowers pop. Okay, this was the scary part, putting in this house, because whereas trees and grasses and everything are very organic, a house is very architectural and geometrical. You have to draw more straight lines. You have to think about shadows and just the architecture of the house a lot more. So I'm also sitting on the ground or on the floor painting this video cross-legged, which is a little hard. It would have been a lot easier to draw a house where I'm standing up painting, but I made do with the situation right now. I can't find my easel, and I am too cheap right now to order another one. I know we'll find it eventually, so I'm just holding out, painting on the floor for now. So this might seem really counterintuitive to be painting a red brick house with a blue pastel. So The reason why I'm doing this is because a lot of this house is in shadow. And when you really zoom in and look at those shadows, they are blue and purple. They're not red or orange. So I started this going in with a blue. Here I'm just kind of defining that edge of the house. And it's really starting to kind of pop off the paper. And okay, now I'm going over that blue with this color that's actually very similar to the color of the underpainting, and just very lightly going over it, and it kind of creates a purple. And I'm just wanting to draw in those shapes on this side of the house and just blending, and you can see that's starting to really take shape. Don't try to be too perfect and exact when painting houses, especially when they're kind of more in the distance like this. If you're painting super close up, you do have to be a little more precise. But okay, this is a kind of an orangey brown color, and I went in on that side that's really catching the light with that color, and then there's this tiny little spot where the light is shining under the eave over on the left there, kind of above the porch, and just kind of drawing that in a little more. This is a pink, because that light there that's hitting that main side of the house, it's actually making it look mostly pink rather than like a brick red. But we know that it's a brick house. That's the thing. Don't try to just paint literally like the color of brick. Actually look at the photo, look at the colors, see that the shadows are blue and purple. They're not red or pink or orange. And then this side where the light is really hitting is more of a pink, like a light pink. And it's very tempting to just paint what we think the color should be. But really, really pay attention to what you see and what the photo is showing you. Now I'm going to go in with this kind of pale tan color and start to draw in that porch, just very, very lightly. You're just giving the impression of the house and the porch. Nothing needs to be too exact. You don't need to add in every single little detail. Already you can see like that's a porch. And all I did was draw just a couple lines. So that's really what Impressionism is. It's the impression of something. It's not drawing every tiny little detail. It's just a few very intentional marks that give you the impression of a thing. So you know exactly what it is, but not everything is there telling you what it is. It's really interesting, and I love to paint this way. This is a cool green. I'm starting to kind of fill in the colors on the roof there. Again, a lot of the roof was in shadow, so I did have that kind of base of blue underneath, and adding a little bit of that green on the porch. And I do go in and kind of refine the top of the roof by just filling in that mountain shape a little more behind the house. And yeah, I love that about pastel. You can do that. This is a much lighter, cool green that I'm adding to those parts where the sun is really hitting that roof. Yeah, this was early morning. Early morning or evening kind of have similar light and these great shadows. Just kind of blending that very lightly, and then adding it just to that eave right there where the light is just hitting that edge. if you're nervous about painting structures, houses, you're not alone. I was incredibly nervous painting this, especially because I didn't have a whole lot of time. At least I didn't know how much time I would have, and I wound up not having a lot. And I was like, I was pretty terrified, and that's a big reason why I was not super excited about this painting. Is I felt like I didn't have the time to really think about the house, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to make it look right. So this is a medium. No, this is a pretty dark purple. I'm going in on those super shadowed areas. So kind of by that porch on that side of the house is the most in shadow. Just adding that very, very lightly, being super careful. Kind of adding in some bushes on the side of the house right there. Blending very lightly. And sorry if the paper's a little off to the side. As I said, I was painting on the floor, sitting on the floor, and just the paper was loose. I didn't have it taped down or anything, so I'm holding it, and as I'm right-handed, I tend to tilt it off to the side, off to the left. That was just a brighter green. I went in again on those highlights on the roof, and then I am, as I said, kind of flattening that roof shape a little bit with the mountain. See how that just totally straightened out that roof line just by going in behind it, carving in. This is called negative painting, where you're not painting like the thing itself, you're painting around it. So I'm painting like back behind those trees to give those trees some more shape. Yeah, just loosely filling in that mountain. That's a very light blue that I'm using because I want the focus to be this house and I want the light to really be hitting it. All right, now I'm going to go in and start lightening up some of those trees. This is a warmer green. Normally, I wouldn't use this warm of a green for something this much in the distance, but the light was really hitting these trees at certain spots, and I felt like it needed it. And then adding that highlight to these fir trees next to the house. Just look how this is coming together. It's just starting to look so beautiful. I'm going in with a kind of mid-blue color for those shadows, making those shadows a little more interesting, not just black or dark blue. It looks black, but it was a dark blue. Just, adding those shadows in, putting a little bit of that on the roof, and then bringing that color again down into the foreground a little. Just dancing that color around different parts of the painting. That just, brings everything together. Pressing so lightly throughout this entire painting. This fir tree off to the right kind of went off I want it to go off the page just a little bit. That's another kind of compositional trick, is to have the things on the edges go off the page. Just looks a little more interesting and realistic, and draws the eye in rather than looking on those edges. This is a really, really light blue, almost a white. And I'm going in and just kind of carving out those tree shapes a little. I bring the mountain down a little more and bring the trees up. Like I said, kind of up over the mountains. So I think this is what I'm going to start doing here. This is just a medium warm green, and I'm starting to just bring those trees up a little bit over those mountains, pressing so lightly so that that color underneath shows through, and it looks more like foliage on these trees. Let me know if you're enjoying this painting. Just leave a comment below. Follow me. I'm trying to do these every week. It's just a great challenge for me right now as a new mom. I'm not a young mom, I guess I am, but I'm in my mid to late 30s, and I'm a first-time mom, and just learning how to schedule my time and find time to do the things I love to do. And the challenge of doing this YouTube channel is really inspiring me and keeping me going. So yeah, just let me know if you're enjoying this. This is a really light turquoise kind of blue, and I'm going in back behind that fir tree a little there, just defining that shape, filling in the sky. I want the sky to be mostly filled in, and just kind of refining that mountain shape a little more too, and those trees and the foliage off to the left. Making everything just a little more kind of misty, making it blend in. This looks like it's slightly darker, a little more color to it, but still just very pale. I was using a palette of about 40 pastels that I had pre-picked out for this painting, and I don't think I used half of them, probably. As I was going, I noticed I mostly used the same ones throughout the painting. Now I'm taking that really pale green that I had used earlier to draw in the porch, and I'm just trying to lightly give the impression of that window on that main side of the house where the light is hitting. Just kind of defining the upper and lower windowsills, and then drawing the sides. This is the brand is Giraud Pastel. Giraud, it's French. I'll leave a link below for these. It's a smaller pastel, so it's great for details. And then this is like an almost white. I decided to go in just to define that windowsill a little better. And then this is a blue. I'm starting to just kind of add in a little bit of blue shadow for the glass. And it was a little too light for that shadow side, so I grabbed a dark blue and am drawing in just kind of a line for the window on that shadow side. That side was a little more angled, so really the windows just look like little lines, and that's what I'm doing down here too, just drawing in some lines, and that gives the impression of a window. And I'm filling in those shadow spaces in that porch area. Yeah, just watch it. Everything's just coming alive and taking shape, adding a little more of that dark color to that main window there. I think the house is about finished. I could get way too detailed with this, and it just would not look right with the rest of the painting if I made the house have a ton of detail, whereas the rest of the painting is very impressionistic. So that's really the challenge with painting structures in Impressionism. Sorry about my head coming into the shot here. Yeah, I had to get a little closer to the page to get these details in. That was just that pink. I was trying to get the highlight on the side of the house, going in with that almost a white to get the light hitting right there on the eave. At this point, my daughter was probably starting to wake up. I didn't know it yet, but I knew I might not have a lot more time as I was coming up on an hour of her nap. So I really needed to go and start thinking about other parts of the painting. And if I felt like I needed to go back to the house, I could. But I decided to stop, and I grabbed this blue just to make this lower foreground look more like it's in shadow. Adding that to the shadow parts and the grasses. Love this color. I have a tendency to use a little too much blue in my paintings as well. I love it. But maybe that's just part of my style. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. This is a cool blue-green. Adding some of that in just to make it a little more dynamic. Pressing very, very lightly. This is a super soft pastel. And I want to draw the eye into that house. This is a grayed down blue-green, adding it to the trees a little bit, and defining the trees a little more, making them a little darker. They had gotten a little light, so here I'm thinking about just the way the branches on this fir tree go out, and you don't want to paint every single little branch. Again, it's just the impressions, so just pick a few and kind of dance it around. Bring that color down into the foreground a little for some shadows. And then I start to go in with the very, very brightest colors in my palette. This is like a neon lime green, and adding it to this part up next to the house to bring the eye into the house, kind of creating some different levels. I think, again, this was alfalfa, so it's yellow flowers, but I'm actually using a lot of green, but it still gives the impression of yellow. This is a really bright, not as fluorescent, but it's a bright yellow green, and adding in some bolder marks for kind of more individual little flowers here on this alfalfa. This is a different but slightly darker warm green. I had used it earlier in the painting. Just adding in, a couple marks. You're just drawing the eye in. You don't want the eye to be drawn to the foreground necessarily. You want it to go to that farmhouse. What is your painting about? So I'm really thinking about that, trying not to add in a lot of detail. This is a kind of a rusty color. I had used it in the house, so I brought it into those foreground grasses just a little. And then this is a light, cool green. Just bringing it in, I love that right there. Lightening up that shadow shape a little bit so it's not as dark. Thank you so much for watching this video. I truly hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you go and make your own painting from this. So let me know in the comments, and like and subscribe. Bye.